rare franchise quarterback who has made more money than he or his kids can ever spend, who continues to hang around football because he loves the game. We've talked about that before. I can't think of another guy. Peyton Manning wasn't going to hang around and take a backup quarterback paycheck. Tom Brady isn't going to hang around and take a backup quarterback paycheck. He'll be good enough until he's 60 to be the number 2 guy on an NFL roster. No, they're not doing that. They're not doing that. There's a pride that comes into play here. This is the equivalent of Rocky carrying around the spit buckets in Rocky 2. Joe Flacco's willing to do it because he loves it. And we'll find out week 1 against the Ravens what he's still got left in the tank some 14 years after he entered the NFL.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, I don't, it's not all that bad. Joe Flacco, first off, can throw it. You've heard throughout training camp that he's had a great training camp throwing the ball. He's one of the, it's one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the history of the game, in my opinion. Now, of course, he's not that guy anymore. But in a lot of ways, this is not that, crushing. And the fact that, hey, I wish Zach Wilson was out there and they're trying to build something for the future. And now, hey, it's going to take a little time here, to get things going. But at the same time, man, Ravens coming to town, okay, and whoa, you get to deal with that defense and all the crazy things they do, right? Joe Flacco's got experience against that crew and what they do. Their defense in Baltimore, I don't think it's going to be a whole lot different than what it was under Don Wink Martindale there, who's now the D coordinator of the Giants. The guy they got there, he was also a Ravens guy as well. They've been running that system for a while there. So in some ways, I look at it and go, from the mental aspect and how to pick up the blitzes and all the crazy disguises that Baltimore can do, Joe Flacco is going to be a calming presence for the Jets when it comes to that. He's going to be like, well, I saw this in practice every day. I know what to do. And he might even be able to clue his guys in a little bit on, hey, coach, when we line up in this formation, they like to do this and this blitz, and they like to check to this coverage. So I do think there's some positives. He's certainly not the Joe Flacco of old, but I think the Jets have maybe a solid enough team here and him to be smart where they can be a pain in the butt here early on in the year, even with Joe Flacco at quarterback. So I'm not giving up on them quite yet.
Well, and let's not forget that their schedule, once again,
it's crazy.
Is crippling. They have somebody at 345 Park Avenue pissed off to high heaven. I mean, look at that. With or without Zach Wilson. Now, maybe they get lucky and they draw Jacoby Brissett, but still, I don't want to go to Cleveland week 2, for which I assume will be the home opener. Yes, because they're in Carolina week 1. Home opener at Cleveland, no thank you. Bengals, Steelers, Dolphins, Packers, Broncos. Now, what the hell?
It's unreal.
When do we get a team that we maybe have a chance to beat? The Bears in week 12. See, look at the back end. Bears, Lions, Jaguars. If they would have gotten those games crammed into September, early October, you maybe win some games, you build some confidence, and that confidence becomes the fuel to knock off a couple of these teams where, I mean, look, through the left side of that column, they're going to be underdogs in every game,
100%.
Regardless of whether or not Zach Wilson's a quarterback.
You're right. And they're a team that's, to what you're saying, they're young. They're not battle-tested. They don't know what it takes to, put together a 4-quarter game and manage the game and do all the right things to beat some of those football teams. They're not. And then
they beat the Bengals with Mike White.
I know. Hey, listen, it was a great day. I get it. Yes, but they're a young organization. It's a second-year head coach. So, yeah, that's where I get into, hey, they're talented. The schedule is brutal. But you're right. They got to find a way to steal a game early on. And I don't know how you're going to do that. You got to, that's where the coaches got to go back to the lab with the pen and the pad and start to go, all right, well, where can we, maybe a trick play here, maybe a trick play there, maybe an onside kick. Again, I say this to some of my coaching friends all the time. I just don't think a lot of teams run enough trick plays. I go, who's led the league in trick plays over the last 17 years? The team that wins the damn Super Bowl every other year, the New England Patriots. I mean, nobody has run more trick plays than them. So find little ways in games where you go, hey, they're a little more talented than us. Yes, but we're going to find a way to throw the ball backwards to Julian Edelman, and he's going to throw the ball down the field to Danny Amendola, and then that's where Saleh and company are going to have to find some advantages that way.
And look, this could end up being a disastrous year for the Jets from the standpoint of how many games they win and how many games they lose. But along the way, they could be better. They could lay the foundation to make a jump next year. And this is one of the problems of today's NFL, where the 5-year plan is out the window.
Right.
There's too much impatience from owners, especially the owners of the teams that can't get out of their own way. And I think part of the problem is, and this is good for the NFL and it's very good for us, the nonstop focus on the sport during an extended offseason that goes some 7 months, it just creates more pressure when it comes down to those 3-hour increments 17 times a year. You don't have many opportunities to make your team truly better. You don't have many chances to prove that you can hang with the best teams in the NFL. So you start piling up the losses, and at some point, Woody Johnson or whichever owner of whichever team is making changes too prematurely and too hastily is going to fire somebody because the fan base feels like something needs to be done or I'm not renewing my season tickets. And that's not the way to run a football team. But again, look, the Steelers are the model that will never be matched again. 3 coaches since 1969, but they won. Before they were winning, they were throwing out coaches every other year.
Right.
You have to get to a point where you're winning to justify the patience that's necessary to stick with a team, stick with a coach, stick with the GM through thick and thin. It's just harder to do than ever, especially, those first few pulls of the lawnmower. It's hard to get it started. It's harder than ever to get a program started. You got to hit early or you're gone.
Yeah, I agreed. It is. And it's just where I don't know. The schedule is brutal. They got some young football, young players, young coaches. I hope they do hang in there. It has become an impatient culture in the NFL between, the fan base. Yes, people like us where we're, dissecting everything all the time. And we just as a society have become now. And there's very few teams that have been patient that way. And patient through bad years where it's just like, hey, we're going to take our lumps for 2 or 3 years with this guy because we think something's going to happen positively. And, you look at New England with Bill Belichick. You look at, the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan. First year wasn't that good. Second year, Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt. I mean, oh, wow, whoa. People were clamoring out there. Oh, we got to get rid of this guy. All he does is, blow the end of the Falcons Super Bowl and all that. Well, yeah, all right, eat crap because now you're one of the best teams in football, and he'd been to the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship game.
The noise started up again last year.
Right? No doubt. It's just where it's gotten a little ridiculous that way. And I think you're right, Mike, that, cooler heads need to prevail in some of these situations a little more often.
We are basically a nation of Veruca Salts. We want everything now. We want it now. And this isn't a political observation by any means, and I don't mean to take us down this track, Chris. And let me just make a comment with no response from you.
Yeah.
There's a certain high-profile story right now that you may have noticed that has engulfed the entire political world, and everybody wants to go to the end of the book now. At some point, you just got to sit and wait and see what happens. Everybody wants to know the answers. Everybody wants to reach their conclusions. Everybody wants to argue the final facts, and they don't know what the facts are. At some point, we just got to sit down, shut our mouths, and wait. We don't have to have everything right now. We have more distractions than ever to keep us occupied while we express patience. Sometimes we need to be patient. We don't need everything right now.
Yeah.
All right, right now, let's pivot to the Baltimore Ravens. And there has been extreme patience by owner Steve Bisciotti because John Harbaugh has been the coach since 2008. It's easy to be patient because he's been good far more often than not since he joined the team. He arrived the same year as Joe Flacco. Here's John Harbaugh from yesterday talking about the prospect of facing his former starting quarterback come week 1.
Well, we'll prepare. We'll prepare for the Jets. We'll prepare for all the quarterbacks. Obviously, we have great respect for all their guys, but Joe we know, and he's a Raven, once a Raven, always a Raven. So we got a lot of respect for Joe and great family. So, but at this point in time, we're preparing for the players on the Jets and the schemes and the things that they do, and that'll be part of it. He's been playing for 3 or 4 years now away from us, and he's set some great moments. I've seen him on TV a few times. We've never played against his team yet, I don't believe, but it's been fun watching him, but it'll be different when you play against him as his opponent. We haven't done that yet.
Look, I don't follow baseball anymore, not the way I used to. In recent years, my general understanding is the Orioles suck. They must be pretty good this year. There's no way John Harbaugh wears that hat.
Yeah.
If the Orioles are anything like the way they've been the last 20 years.
They're one of the surprises of baseball this year, Mike.
Oh, that's why he's got the hat on.
As of right now, I believe they're one of the wild card teams. If they're not, they're like right in the thick of things and within a game of being in it. But yes. No doubt about it. You're right. So you're spot on.
The only relevance the Orioles have had to me the past 20 years has been they had a home game the night the Ravens were supposed to hang their banner, and the Ravens had to go on the road to Denver. That's the only time I've cared about the Orioles, really, since the 1979 World Series.
Well, okay. Well, they're back. Hopefully they can do something there. And hopefully not at the Yankees' expense. You know me, I'm a Yankees fan. But, hey, I bet you in some ways – Harbaugh's probably like, I wanted to, fluster the young second-year quarterback. We got some new shiny pieces on defense, and I would have loved to blitz his ass and do all these crazy defenses and see if he can handle it all. And now he's probably like, well, Joe's going to have answers. This isn't going to fluster Joe. I mean, we've seen Joe Flacco. Nothing flusters Joe Flacco. That's what he's amazing. I was on the field for his second playoff game in the history of his life. I mean, we were the number 1 seed, and he acted like he was a 10-year veteran. Oh, big deal. Oh, Albert Haynesworth's about to hit me, and Keith Bullock, big deal. Well, zoom, laser down the middle. He's got a great way about him that way, and he's not going to get rattled by this Baltimore Ravens football team. So I'm sure there is a part of Harbaugh that's like, damn. We're going to lose that advantage of being able to try to trick the quarterback a little bit with Flacco underneath the center.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.